Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Nirmala Sitharaman, in her 8th budget, the headline in this announcement has been the tax rebate that has been given to the middle class, more money in the hands of the middle class, and the government would be hoping this is going to propel the economy further. 100% FDI has also been announced in the insurance sector, and focus of this budget has been on the poor, women, youth, and the farmers. Entrepreneurs are also, in fact, one sector that the government is hoping to rejuvenate with this budget. 75,000 more medical college seats have also been announced in this budget, which also saw a big, in fact, mention of Bihar. Remember, the state goes to polls by the end of this year. But just to try and understand and simplify it further, how this budget is going to propel the Indian economy, I'm being joined by my noted guest on this broadcast, Ms. Nirmala Kidwai, Chair, ISC, and Rothschild India is joining us at this moment. Ma'am, thank you for speaking to us. We are also being joined by Surjit Bhalla, former Executive Director, IMF, and senior economist and author. So thank you also to you for being with us this evening. Ms. Kidwai, let me understand from you at this moment, what are the top highlights that you see in this budget? The opposition came out, former Union Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, in fact, came out and said that there is still a lot of the bureaucracy and a lot of red tapeism that surrounds the Indian industry. The government needs to, in fact, simplify that.
So in terms of highlights, clearly the demand from industry chambers and the expectation from many of us that we enhance demand and consumption for the middle class by lowering tax rates has, I think, been more than met. The levels, the 1 lakh crore of money that the government gives up by doing this is a great step. And I do hope that this will lead to the demand and consumption that we believe may help private investment and capex also come in. I think the second area is, and there's been a little disappointment on the capex number, which stays at 11.2 lakh crore, which is the same as was budgeted last year, albeit not met last year because we ended up at 10.18. But I just heard the Revenue and Finance Secretary mention that we have to take this along with the state capex numbers. Mm-hmm. And in that case, it actually translates to more like a 17% increase because it winds up at a 15 point whatever lakh crore number if taken along with the state capex provisions that are being provided. So the capex cycle is important because it is a good jump starter for the economy at all levels. Within that, sectors that I work closely in water and sanitation, budgets have seen substantial increases. And I'm very happy to see the Jal Jeevan Mission sees an increase of 198%, the Swachh Bharat Mission 145%. These are highly successful programs of the government, could have been neglected because the government believes it's kind of got to where it wants to. But clearly, these need continuous investment. This has been recognized. Also, the whole urban space, and there's a commitment of 1 lakh crore being announced for an urban challenge fund to encourage water and sanitation, and 25% that the government would, in fact, support for bankable projects. Okay. So these are all important steps in terms of not just infrastructure of roads and railways, where we do quite well, but also in the much needed sectors of water and sanitation, where we've had success, but indeed need to continue to invest.
Right, ma'am. Stay on with me, Mr. Bhalla. Giving the money in the hands of the middle class, the government is hoping that it will manifest in further propelling the economy and the growth in the country. But a lot of people are also saying that the very conservative estimate that the government has put on the GDP growth, do you see that as the government being conservative, sir?
Look, first I agree with a lot what Nana said, that there is a lot of the right signals being given, the right noises being made, and even the right policies being made. So that, but I want to break up my comments into two, and the GDP growth rate, etc., I don't see as that important in this context. It is what the budget was supposed to do in terms of increased consumption demand, and a lot of stuff in infrastructure. There is, for MSMEs, there's some very good stuff. For agriculture, there's very good stuff. Export promotion, there is very good stuff. So, but I want to talk about very good policies. So, absolutely, and I would have said the whole budget is fantastic, except for this one minor problem, which may not be so minor, and that is on the calling card of this budget is the middle class tax cut, and what maybe the fine print, etc. But what it appears is that there is a real problem with the middle class tax cut, and that's as follows. Assume everybody is going into the new tax regime. So let's not get confused about the new tax regime versus the old tax regime. Everybody into the new tax regime, which I think not having deductions, etc., is very, very good, because the more the exemptions and more selection is there, the more the discretion is there on the part of the tax authorities, and therefore there is more corruption in the old tax regime than in the new tax regime. So that's very good. And that's where we were moving. And apparently, 75% of taxpayers have moved to the new tax regime. Now let's look at the new tax regime. And you are a salaried person. So 12,75,000, you don't pay a penny. You don't pay a single naya paisa more if you earn, in tax, if you earn 12 lakhs and 75,000. If you now earn 12 lakhs and 75,001 rupee, you will end up paying something like 65,000 rupees tax, because the slabs have not been changed. 0 to 4 lakhs, you will pay zero tax. So the slabs have not been changed. From 4 to 8 lakhs, you will pay 5%. And 5 to 12 lakhs, you will pay 10%. Now, what is curious, this is part of the new tax regime. They haven't changed the tax slabs. Now, I don't know, and I'm waiting for other experts and etc., anywhere else in the world where you have this big, the first slab, the start of the slab, tax slab, is always that before that there's zero. After that, there's the tax rate. So in other words, what should be the case is that up to 12 lakhs, you don't pay tax. From 12 to 13 lakhs, you pay 5% or 10% or whatever the case may be, but you pay on the margin, not on the average, if you will, or the graded average. So maybe Nana works in industry, etc. Maybe she can enlighten us. But in my studies, and I've been looking at tax issues. I'm not an expert,
right?
But I don't think any country in the world has this. So
okay.
This is yet another instance of India being unique, and I think it is easily fixable. So I hope they fix it, because if they don't fix it, this has to be a rollback or something, which this government doesn't like to do. And right. I don't think rollbacks are a good idea anyway. But in this case, if ever there was a need for a rollback or clarity or sensibility, sense and sensibility are the two things we need in your income tax regime.
Okay, point taken, sir. Ms. Kade, would you want to come in on what Mr. Bhalla is saying? Because, largely this budget headline, and it is being projected as a very pro-middle class budget, which will propel the growth because the spending will, in fact, be increased. What he's saying that possibly there needs to be a rethink as far as these slabs are concerned.
I agree with Surjit, and particularly the way what it might create is a situation where people deliberately try and stay within a particular slab, because if you go even 1 rupee over, your entire income now gets taxed at the next slab. So I do agree with him. It should be more like a marginal increase over each slab being at that rate, and that would solve for it. Because otherwise it's going to create a lot of tax compliance issues as people try and stay within the lower slab. So yes, I do think it's worth a review. I think the intention is still to be lauded. The desire to ensure that there's more more money put in the hands of the middle class, increasing the slabs and all are all laudworthy. I think maybe a little attention to the detail and functioning of this may be required.
But do you see this as a short-term fix, ma'am, rather than, because there were a lot of concerns about slowing growth and slowing spending as well. So this is just a short-term, idea to try and propel the growth, maybe not a long-term fix.
So let me look.
It is long-term in that the tax rates come down for good unless they go up again. Mm-hmm. So it continues to give money, but is it enough on its own? No, if inflation doesn't come down, we're still hoping interest rates come down, and we do know that 30% of all bank credit is in personal hands. So all of these advantages can get wiped out if inflation goes up, if interest rates go up, etc. So the whole package and desire to put money in the hands of the middle class has been recognized. That's terrific and needs to be lauded. But a lot of stuff needs to follow to ensure that gain is indeed transferred to a gain.
Okay, Mr. Bala, like you said, barring this little pain point, overall, you see this budget as hitting all the right notes, but that is not something that we saw being reflected in the share market today. Why do you think so, sir?
Well, I'll come to the share market in a minute, but the point that Nana was making, which is correct, that there will always be bunching at the beginning of a slab. So let's say you had, 4 lakhs, there will be a lot of people not showing incomes above 4. But I think there is no slab in the world which will not have that bunching, or there's no tax in the world which will not have that bunching. So that is accepted, but it's this thing that, if we had, let's say 12 lakhs, as it should be the case, then you will have lots of people reporting income 11.5 lakhs, etc. But after that, it'll be sense and sensibility. What we don't have is sense and sensibility in the tax. And, that's a major part. As I said at the beginning, the rest of the budget, I thought, and I think is excellent, is making all the right noises, sending all the right signals, and very, very conducive to growth and lack. One other item that is not mentioned in the budget, which I've been talking about, is this bilateral investment treaties. So it is likely that the bilateral investment treaties will be changed. Or they are our model bilateral investment treaty, which nobody is adopting, that they will maybe get back. So there's lots of good in the budget, but I'm afraid with this, and it is a center point. I mean, budget is taxation and expenditure. And we can all quibble about expenditure, some more here, some less here, will always happen. But the ethos of any budget anywhere in the world is taxation. And we should get that very, very clear.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bala, Ms. Khidbai, for joining me at this moment on NDTV with your very, very important and precious comments on this budget 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, the other big focus as far as the budget 2025 has been, and the buzzword these days is the artificial intelligence, the AI. So what is it in this budget for the tech and the AI sector? Let me just very quickly recap what the finance minister announced today. 10,000 crore fund for the startup, 500 crore allocation for 3 AI centers of excellence. The scheme for first-time women entrepreneurs, and push to the gig economy. Apart from that, the National Framework for Global Capability Centers, Deep Tech Fund of Funds will also be explored, and credit guarantee, which covers enhanced for startups, which is going to be a major boost as far as the startups are concerned across the country. To try and understand this further, I'm being joined by Mr. Rajat Gulati, co-founder Pluto's One, a fintech expert. Ankush Sabharwal is also with us at this moment, founder of the CoreOver.ai, associated with the Bharat GPT and India government's conversational AI apps. Apart from that, we are also being joined by Jibu Elias Fellow at the Mozilla Foundation and member of the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council on AI. Gentlemen, thank you for speaking to us. Let me start by asking you, Mr. Gulati, AI has been the buzzword, tech industry, AI is something that everybody is talking about, and with DeepSeek, coming just a few days back, a lot of questions were being raised on where India stands as far as this entire market is concerned. How do you see this budget helping or propelling India towards the AI revolution?
Thanks, Ankit. When I saw the DeepSeek R1 news, my immediate reaction was that maybe it was too close to the budget for the Honorable Minister to do anything about it. I'm glad to see that they'd already made some provisions. These are good first steps. I think the first thing to recognize is that what DeepSeek R1 sort of implied was that you don't necessarily need the kind of mega budgets most of Europe and the first world and North America have committed themselves to be able to create a leadership in AI. It is possible to do it better, faster, more frugally, and bring at least the same results, if not more. So what that tells the rest of the world that it is going to be possible to catch up, and to do AI for less is a game changer. AI, of course, in itself is a game changer, but to be able to do it for less is to make it accessible to more people, to more industries, and to bring out real impact from the use of that AI. Mm-hmm. To that end, in this budget, we've seen provision for AI centers of excellence. That's great. A dedicated fund of funds for deep tech, which is what would cover the AI startups in India. All of these are very encouraging first steps. I think there has to be a recognition that there must then be real world impacts. The additional provision of 10,000 CR to the fund of funds for all startups, this and the deep tech fund will have significant drag along effects when it comes to fostering investment in these spaces. Right. And that is also a recognition that there is an anti-globalization sort of wave in the world where investment in India is going to have to come from India itself. And this is a recognition of all of that.
Okay. Mr. Sabharwal, let me understand this from you that these AI centers of excellence, the 500 crore rupee that has been earmarked for them, does this prepare, or at least is the beginning of India recognizing the fact for future-ready skill sets of our of the future generation? So, will it produce that skill set that India needs to, in fact, stay relevant as far as the new technological advances are concerned?
You see, India is too big. Any amount is going to be very, very less, right? But how I see is the budget is where is the government's focus, right? So any amount put there, it gives like we have the government's focus and encouragement in this sector. And of course, as we know, huge opportunity in India to leverage this AI buzz and leverage these AI technologies, AI solutions, not in just terms of building platform. It is also in terms of solving problems for India. It is also, in fact, solving problems for the world, right? So I think we should have GCCs focusing only in AI, maybe from India, and maybe more AI service companies and system integrators and maybe AI consulting companies in India for the world. And and we know in India, just 2% of the techies know AI. Huge opportunities, I think, whether you call it as maybe the academia and the industry gap. Everywhere there are opportunities for us to focus on skilled labor, whether from the education or the existing professionals getting trained on AI, But yeah, this, as I said, any amount is less, but
Right.
showing some numbers there, it shows that government is with us and we have to increase our manpower to leverage this
Right.
benefit for the country.
At least the thought process is in the right direction. But Mr. Elias, there is a lot of discussion about the gap between the technological advancements that we are seeing and the workforce readiness of the country. Does this budget in some way shed some light on it or help to bridge that gap?
I think there are a few points that been recognized. One is the AI-led or automation-led job displacement. The budget as well as the economic survey is very clear about the vulnerability of India's tech workforce, because this is mostly we are in entry-level tech jobs which are very vulnerable to AI. We keep seeing fresher jobs disappearing. Now, how do you transform this workforce into mid-level and higher-level tech jobs? That's something I think Honorable Finance Minister has mentioned in the budget as well. So that's one thing. Secondly, we need to emphasize more on grassroots level skilling. If you want to compete with China, who has been doing that for decades, we need to get our tier 2 small towns and villages where the colleges are doing an absolutely bad job in skilling and in quality of education. So we need to bring up those students in the small towns up to the same standard or close to even IITs. Because if you look at our country, after IITs, there's a huge gap between the rest of the country in terms of research, in terms of quality of faculty, quality of education, and many other things. So this can be a good starting point, but a lot of work needs to be done.
So this is at least like a lot of people have been saying, right noises being made, but how does this translate on the ground is something that people will have to in fact see in the finer detail. But Mr. Gulati, for the tech entrepreneurs and startups, because Prime Minister has spoken about it time and again, that he wants India to be the capital of startups for new innovative ideas coming through. How does this budget in fact enhance that vision?
So I think the two main, maybe three main things that came here was there was an announcement for a dedicated incentives for women entrepreneurs, and that's been something that's been missing thus far. It's never been a playing field, so I think that recognition is very important. The fact that there is now a 10,000 crore fund of funds for just deep tech leads me to believe, gives me hope that there will be more R&D happening in this country. That's been missing for a long time. As the other panelists have said, right, in some ways we've become the back office of the world, and there is an opportunity now for us to actually do real innovation, do R&D, and that is now being recognized and funded by the government. I think that's very, very encouraging. And the last thing, as I said earlier, was the renewed commitment to the fund of funds that managed by SIDBI, and that itself is telling other investors, other participants in the AIF space, that the government is here to back them, provide the encouragement, provide the guarantees, and therefore give more of a fillip to the startups. I think there's nothing bad you can say about any of those steps.
Okay, Mr. Sabharwal, a lot of people, I'm just mentioning DeepSeek because it's a very latest thing that happened, and a lot of conversation was around that. The big question that people were, talking about is, when is India going to create those ripples with, a fully India-made AI model that people are talking about? How far are we from there?
Why this question? So I think it's just the FOMO. So what we are going to get with that? So whatever they have made it open source. Let India whatever use it and solve some problems. Even if we create what would happen then?
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say, I think that's not the question or FOMO we should have.
But the argument on the other side would be that it also shows the strides in innovation that various countries are making. Like with China, they have done it with what West is doing with billions of dollars at a fraction of a budget. Can India also compete in that market, in that aspect?
I think the US, we know, is very good in marketing and they know how to package it well. And I think the China is learning, and we also have to learn. If you have to make strides, it should be about what problem we are solving, right? So, and I might be biased in saying, hey, we have AI solutions which are being used by the highest number of people, and they are built by India, the company in India that's built by us. So I think if any innovation and strides we have to make, it should be about what problem we are solving, and we should be able to solve at scale. Yeah, then in the process, maybe we export the AI solution. It's there, but I think we should not be worried much about this,
Okay.
and let's not have FOMO, and let's see first where we should get benefit of the AI solutions, whether built in India or outside. Let's use, even if deepfake works, let's use it.
Okay.
But just solve the problem for India first.
So don't be in a rat race. Try and use those things better and see what solutions can be offered by companies and people here in India. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. I'm completely out of time. I have to slip into a very short break at this moment. Thank you for your time.